In this video, we move on to the next two countries where the manufacture of tin glazed ceramics became very established. The first is Italy. Ceramics from Italy was generally known as Majolica. The main centres of production were Venice, Faenza, Florence, Siena, Pesaro, Cafaggiolo, Urbino, Deruta, Rome, and Naples. Tin glazed earthenware began to appear in Italy in the Renaissance era of the 14th to the 16th century. It was known as Istoriata Majolica. The decoration depicted stories from the Old Testament, myths, and from history. The themes for the decoration were religious, mythological, pictorial, rural, geometric motifs, fruit and vegetables, and commemorative. The first example of Istoriata Majolica is this lovely plate, painted meticulously with a biblical scene, the Judgment of Solomon, from about 1555 AD. And this scene from Exodus, painted in the same style, is typical of the pottery which came from the Urbino factory. These two superb chevrettes from Urbino depict rural scenes. The chevrette is an Italian drug jar. And here are two more tall jars or drug jars. One is an opium jar and the other probably a storage jar. They would almost certainly have had cork lids. Portraits are chosen for the decoration there. This unusual, large, two-handled storage jar is decorated once again in the popular cobalt oxide and depicts a large bird in floral surrounds. It comes from a Florence factory, and here is a polychrome dish which has an unusual scene depicting a ceramic decorator at work. It is from the Cafaggiolo factory about 1540. This particular type of decoration was called grotesque and was a popular style from several factories, but this one comes from Venice. Its motifs of human and animal forms is skillfully and elaborately painted in various shades of grey on a cobalt blue ground. This would require a great deal of expertise by the painter. Here are two Italian Majolica drug jars. The one on the left is polychrome, decorated with intricate repeat patterns and what looks like dolphins and a face, maybe that of Neptune, him being the Roman god of the sea. How superb are these two albarello, rich shades of cobalt blue with additions in polychrome of leaves and blossoms. They adorn the one on the left, and brilliantly painted dolphins and seashells enhance the beauty of the other one. So far, there has been no mention of marks. A great deal of ceramics all over the world would have been marked in some way, but much of it was not marked. Here are some marks on early Majolica. Marks are a helpful guide to identifying pottery, but without a mark, you have to rely on your experience of observation and comparison, if possible, the feel of the wares by handling them. The migration of Italian potters to centres in France seemed to be the main way that the process of tin glazing and decorating was passed on, but also there would be an exchange of ideas by potters from other countries visiting the pottery centres in Italy. In France, the main areas of production were Rouen, Quimper, Strasbourg, Lunéville, Sèvres, Moustiers, and Marseille. Tin glazed earthenware produced in France is known as faience. This beautiful tall jug from Rouen is decorated in cobalt blue on the white tin glaze and closely resembles the decoration later found on the Dutch Delftwares. Here is a lovely Rouen mid-18th century plate depicting a scene of a couple sitting by the fireplace. The border is decorated with a yellow scroll with alternating patterns of crisscross and floral decorative motifs. Here we have a beautiful, carefully decorated plate in polychrome colours, which clearly shows some influence from the Chinese porcelains now already coming into the country. As potters had not at this stage discovered the secrets of hard-paste Chinese porcelain, their attempt to emulate it was made with tin-glazed earthenware. This large wall fountain base, also made in Rouen in about 1750, has decoration done in polychrome oxides, and there is a moulded face on either side. This very elaborately moulded dish, somewhat baroque in its conception, has an armorial motif painted in the centre, probably mid-18th century from Rouen. The Moustiers pottery produced these two beautiful tall urns, handled with goats' heads and horns, and painted stylishly with swags and floral motifs, with a small scene in the centre. A lovely example of cobalt blue decoration is this Moustiers plate with a hunting scene in the centre and a repeat pattern border. This is a soup tureen from the Marseille pottery, also mid-18th century. Copper oxide creates quite a bit of the floral decoration, and the lid has a two-fish knob. Handles are created in the form of two leopards. This plate from Moustiers shows a religious theme and a simple border of floral sprays and insects. Here we have a plate with a more intricately executed central theme of a fable, and the border is a repetition of floral swags. The double scroll edge was very common on French faience plates. This is a 1790 plate from Nevers. It was known as a revolutionary plate, and many were produced depicting aspects of the French Revolution from 1789 to 1799. The text reads literally, "Let's not mention anything about the national razor, in other words, the guillotine." The Chinese influence can be seen in the decoration in cobalt blue on this Nevers plate of the 17th century, and an extremely exquisite decoration on this plate depicts an intricate floral border in blue and iron red. The central theme is one of a dancer's frolicking around a maypole with cherubs and doves. The apothecary jar on the left is glazed in a style known as Persian blue, often used in the Nevers factory. It is glazed with a deep cobalt blue glaze and decorated with random splashes of white opaque tin glaze. The other tall pharmacy jar is adorned with a snake twist handles and lizards running around the base. The lidded jar on the left is also first glazed in deep cobalt blue and decorated on the glaze with white enamels in this case. Another fine example of armorial decoration with figures and birds in cobalt on the white tin glaze is seen here on the example on the right side. Another magnificent example of a large plate decorated with a scene copied from imported Chinese porcelain with a lovely repetitive floral border. This very large urn is typical of this style of decoration, which came in large quantities from the Nevers factory. The basic cobalt blue tin glaze is overlaid with an intricate white tin glazed decoration. A monteith was a large bowl with the sides cut in this way shown for the stems of wine glasses to sit. It had a lovely floral decoration with a hint of baroque scrolling around the edge. Here is another fine example of the meticulous and colourful decoration which could be skillfully applied to tin glazed plates at the Lernerville factory. And another lovely example on this Luneville plate of simple, effective and attractive decoration. This delightful plate from Quimper has the same double-edged scroll, and its border of flowing scrolls in blue is edged with a fine line of iron brown. In the centre stands a peasant in clogs playing the bagpipes. From my own collection, this Nevers plate. The cornucopia with birds was a popular decoration of the time. The chipped border is common with tin glazed earthenwares because the clay body is quite fragile and easily chipped. On the reverse, we can see another common feature of tin glazed earthenwares. The plates were glaze fired on stilts, and they left these marks on the back of the plates. Once again, a large variety of marks may be seen on the back of the pots, which, if present, will help through research to identify the wares. And our next video we go to the Netherlands, the British Isles and Europe.